Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and for the last 7 days, I've been driving the 2024 Toyota GR86 Premium. Up front is a 2.4 liter flat 4, and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be making this video because I've spent the last 7 days loving this GR86. I think it does a lot of things really well, and I was actually able to raise the mileage limit that Toyota allows me to have on this vehicle and take it on a little road trip. So we're going to be doing a little bit of a breakdown at the end of this video with how it fared on the road for several hours. But if you would like to submit your own vehicle, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 2.4 liter flat 4 under the hood. Well, it is a Subaru-derived engine because this shares a platform with the Subaru BRZ, and it makes 228 horsepower. Now, it is a 0.4 liter upgrade over the outgoing model of GR86 up until 2021. They had 2 liter engines, now they have 2.4, and that added torque is definitely very noticeable. Around town, it's a lot more fun to drive because you have a little bit more torque to play with. And who doesn't love playing with torque? 228 might seem low to some people for an enthusiast car, but I genuinely believe that 200 is the sweet spot for sports cars that are light enough to handle it. If you can't have fun with 228 horsepower, you might need to reevaluate your driving style. And I said that in the last video, and people got upset with me and said, "Oh, I don't know how to drive my Camaro." No, you do. And Camaros are equally fun with even more power. But don't throw the baby out with the bathwater when you see a 2 at the beginning of the horsepower number. This car is buckets of fun. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed manual transmission, and that helps make the car so fun. It's super notchy, very direct, and is very satisfying in and out of gear. I've really enjoyed this manual transmission, and I think it's one of the best on the market, even though that isn't saying a whole lot because there aren't a whole lot of manuals available today. Last but not least, the GR86 is rear-wheel drive, as it always has been, and I hope will always continue to be. How does it feel to drive the GR86 Premium? Well, this also has the performance package, which adds some really nice goodies like the bigger brakes. Basically a Terreno package without being a Terreno package. You don't get the graphics or anything like that. It's absolutely amazing. It was really impressive to me how quickly after Toyota dropped this car off to me that it really felt like a second set of skin. I had a business meeting the day that they gave this to me, which was about a half hour away, so I hopped in the car, got on the highway, and immediately felt incredibly comfortable the whole way, going through traffic, swapping lanes. This felt more like a suit of armor rather than an automobile, and that's how I want performance cars to feel. It's very predictable, it's very stable, and I really enjoy that. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a digital gauge cluster. I do have my average MPG and miles till empty off to the left, coolant temperature and fuel off to the right, but then in the center, I get my circular tachometer and speed. However, when you put it into track mode, it actually becomes a linear tachometer that emphasizes the higher end rather than the lower end of the rev range, and I really like that. On the steering wheel on the left, we have our source, phone options, volume, and skip track, and off to the right, we have our selectors for that gauge cluster screen, as well as our adaptive cruise control settings, which is now standard across all GR86s, where it wasn't for 2023. I personally don't really care for adaptive cruise in sports cars like this, especially manual transmission, because when you do come to a stop and stop and go traffic, you still have to shift. So it's a little bit more useless here, but in the automatic, I'm sure it's absolutely lovely. Off to the left, we have a climate control vent, gauge dimmer switch, and trunk release. And moving on to the door, we have our power mirrors, power locks, and power windows, and a little cup holder that I seemingly missed on the 2023. And so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the door of the GR86, and it passes. You can take your big friggin' bottle with you on the road or even on the track in your GR86. Moving into the center, we have 2 climate control vents and the hazard switch, and then our infotainment system. This is going to be one of the weaker points of the car. It is a Subaru infotainment system, so you'll see it matched with like the outgoing Outback and the last year's Forester, which I'm not super impressed with. However, it works. It does have Apple CarPlay, although it is wired. And here's the backup camera, which even my girlfriend pointed out is very low quality. We were backing into the driveway the other night and she goes, "Oh, that's the camera?" Yeah, that's the camera. But I will say, as a caveat to all of that, this car's focus is not technology, and so it has to have a backup camera legally per the government, so it is what it is. Down below that, we have our air conditioning and heating options. We do have dual zone climate, which is lovely. Even in a small car like this, I always love seeing dual zone, and some buttons down below on where to send it, and of course, on and off. Then we have the shifter itself. I think the shifter looks fantastic. It's very presentable. It works very well, and as I said at the top of the video, it feels fantastic, so it really checks all of the boxes. Down below that, we have our traction control off and our track button, which will also turn off the traction control. Really, really cool to see that, and that's how you get that linear tachometer we talked about. And then we have our heated seat options and our openable cup holders that do have USB-A. Would have loved to have seen USB-C, but we only get USB-A here in the GR86. And the cup holders, which failed the big friggin' bottle test, but we already passed it on the door, so it's already a win. The seats are comfortable, however, they are a little bit tight for a bigger guy like me. I'm 5'11", about 275, and they are sort of a little tiny, but I've been managing, as we'll talk about later on. I took it on a road trip, and they seem to do okay, but we'll talk more about that later. We do have back seats. Here they are, and I will try to jam myself back there. You guys like seeing that. So people have really been yelling at me in the comments recently that they get mad when I get in on the driver's side. So I'm getting in on the passenger side, which, let me tell you folks, doesn't make it any easier. Oh, God. Oh, lordy, lordy, lord. So we're in the back of the GR86. GR86 has never had good back seats, and I don't think it ever will. I don't think it ever should. You don't need good back seats back here, and you can fold them down, use them for extra cargo space, which is wonderful. Do that. Do not expect to buy a GR86 and take all your friends all over the place. No one's going to want to sit back here. I don't want to sit back here. I don't want to be back here. I'm getting paid to be back here, and I'm not. I don't want to be back here. So don't expect it. Put your helmet back here for track days. Put your backpack back here after lunch. Why would you have a backpack at lunch? Put your backpack back here after school, after work. You got one of those knapsacks or anything like that. Throw your fanny pack back here, whatever it is, but I wouldn't recommend using these for people. Let's hop into the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the GR86 from 2024. Pop it with that little button right there. And I do have a t-shirt and the big friggin' bottle and tripod. Here is the rear trunk space of the GR86. However, I will put in a photo of what it looks like full of groceries. We went grocery shopping with it, but again, that will be a video on its own. But here it is. Here's the rear trunk space. Not anything too interesting to talk about. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is finished in track bread, lowercase b, uppercase R-E-D, because it's red. I really like the look of it. I think the updated or the second generation of the GR86 is absolutely fantastic. It looks the part, it feels the part, and it's just been awesome to walk out into my driveway and see this thing every morning. I love the red color along with the black wheels, but the red Brembos I think really, really look awesome. And I dig this thing so much. It almost looks like a little Porsche Cayman to me at some angles, and it's cool for me to feel that way. So not only does it drive the part, but it most certainly looks the part as well. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving another GR86? Because I had a press loan of a GR86 last year. And if you guys remember, you guys gave me a lot of love on that video. I was actually going through some anxiety issues the week that I had that car, and the car actually kind of helped me work through it. It sort of gave me that relief in between appointments and meetings and things like that. Similar story here. I have really been given the chance by Toyota to really feel out and really love the GR86. And I'm going to make a whole separate video about the daily ability of this car. We took it grocery shopping, I took it on a road trip, all of that stuff. That'll be a separate video that'll come out later. But the long and short of it is that I think this is truly one of the best performance and enthusiast cars on the market. The only vehicle that really rivals it is the Mazda Miata, or MX-5 as it's known. But this makes more power and torque. It feels more planted, where the MX-5 feels a little bit more buzzy, a little bit more higher end. And of course, you get the convertible top or retractable hard top with those, where you only get a fixed roof with the GR86. I digress. It's up to you to decide. However, let's jump forward in time and talk after I got back from my road trip with the GR86. And with that, my time with the Toyota GR86 Premium is almost at an end. I have 162 miles to Chicago, a full tank of gas, half a Monster Energy, it's bright, and I don't have my sunglasses. In this last week, I have really learned the shortcomings of the GR86. Premium fuel is recommended, so you're gonna pay a little bit more at the pump. If anyone is parked next to you at all, it is absolutely atrocious to get in and out of. And the infotainment system took inspiration from the Nintendo 64 and Sega Genesis. Despite those shortcomings, this car has brought me so much joy. I've lived with it, I've driven it in rain, I've driven it at night, I've driven it morning and noon, I've eaten in the car, I napped in the car, I've experienced every nook and cranny of this little GR86. And believe me when I tell you, fans of the channel will understand the gravity of this statement. This is the closest I have come to selling my personal Mazda 3. I made up a plan in my head. I was ready to sell my Mazda 3 for one of these, to put a down payment and finance one of these. If it weren't for the Chicago winters, and I truly mean that is the only factor stopping me, if it weren't for the Chicago winters, where we get snow, and I'd have to sit in here with a giant puffy coat, if I lived in Southern California, my Mazda 3 would be gone, and this would be in my driveway. That is how much I have enjoyed my time with this car, because no matter what, a smile is just a downshift away. Yesterday, I filmed 5 cars for the channel without eating. I don't eat until I'm done filming. I didn't bring any water with me that day. I was hangry, I was annoyed, I was pulling my hair out at the roots. And yet, when I was on the highway, the smile returned. Woo! Every on and off ramp was a roller coaster. Entering my neighborhood was a challenge of integrity and gut. The ride quality has also been good too. This is our, gosh, I don't even know of in the car. And you hear some cabin noise for sure. You're gonna get that for any car under 50 grand. It doesn't ride dramatically worse than my Mazda 3. My Mazda 3 definitely soaks up the bumps a little bit nicer, but my back hasn't been hurting. It hasn't been a noticeably stiff drive. It's just been stiffer than others. It's been manageable. I really love this car, and maybe I fall in love too easily. Maybe that's a character flaw, but sue me. I have a big heart, or enlarged as my doctor says. I love it. It's just such a good car. It's been so fun, and the things and places that this car has taken me over the last week, nearly 1,000 miles in this car, it's just been fantastic. It has made my life better without putting me into debt. $35,000 isn't the worst thing in the world. With inflation, that's not bad. But this car has been there for me. It's been my friend at times when I thought that I didn't have any. This car has become an ally, a friend, a confidant. And so now I have 155 miles left with the GR86. And I don't know how I'm going to cope with that. The only thing I can do is just try to enjoy all 155. I don't think that'll be hard. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Toyota for not only letting me borrow and put extra miles on this particular GR86, of which I've done more than half the miles of the car, so if this was squatters' rights, this would be my GR86. Just saying. I've done the most miles out of anyone in this car. Also, huge thank you to Toyota for sending me to the NHRA Nationals. That's what this is for, and these are for. It absolutely waged a war on my eardrums, but it was a really, really cool event, and I appreciate them for giving me this GR86 to go down there and do that. Toyota has always been a really, really good company to work with. They have some of the best PR people, and they give me the most freedom when it comes to videos like this. They gave me the freedom to say that this car sucks, but I couldn't find it in my heart to profess something that isn't true. So, for the last now 54 miles, I'm gonna enjoy myself, and I hope that you enjoyed this video. Until next time, take care, guys.